my moral of the story is, it's just like, dude, it's the dirt bike was the vessel, and the willpower was the ticket to like going on all these crazy adventures, and meeting guys like you guys, meeting. I think a lot of people that were pioneers, like the guys who are just like creating new shit, and I feel like that was you guys.
Welcome to our little podcast, Mr. Brian Deegan. It's been a little while.
Yeah,
we've been through a couple of adventures with Mr. Brian Deegan around the
yeah.
world, and we want to talk about some cool things that we got to live and interesting times back in the late '90s into the 2000s
Yeah, yeah.
with Brian. Yeah, and Brian, where did you get your start? Like, what was your passion to get into like dirt bike racing and kind of that adventure that led to your lifestyle now?
I ended up growing up in Nebraska in a small town, and I just got pretty fortunate that my neighbor moved in from France, and this guy Steve Jarrett, and he raced motocross, and uh, so I've always liked dirt bikes. Like I was always intrigued by it, but in Nebraska, it just wasn't like a big scene there. It was. I
Yeah.
was the kid, and I was in high school or junior high. I was that kid that was into skating, and we had a little skate shop in our town that actually had all the cool brands. And I remember having like the Caballero board back in the day, and we really just into that more of that scene, because Nebraska, the school I went to, was more like football. Like if you weren't a jock, that was kind of like the cool scene, was like the jocks and the athletes, and then and I was always
The
kind of that guy
quarterback.
who's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of that dude that was more like into like action sports before it was that, and then so anyway, my neighbor moved in. He raced motocross, and I just like fell in love with it, and he was cool enough. He looked like this dude. He was probably about 16 years old, and he looked like Eddie Van Halen. Like that's like almost like identical to like Eddie Van Halen. Long hair, jean jacket, like kind of like that guy. Like all the girls liked him. He was like that cool dude, and so I really was intrigued by that. And he ended up kind of taking me under his wing, and like he used to take me to the practice track with him, and which is kind of crazy if you think about it. I was probably about 9, 10 years old, and you think I was like going with this neighbor like to the motocross track, and I had a paper route so I could have enough money to like pay for my way and do things. And so anyway, I asked my dad for a dirt bike. He was like, "Ah, you got to earn the money for it." He wasn't really into it because he was a teacher, superintendent of the school system. So he was a business guy, like, and he just wasn't never raced in his life, never had anything ever to do with that style of lifestyle. And like I said, what are the odds of this dude moving in next door to me that rode dirt bikes, right? Like without that happening, like where would have my road went? Like would I
Yeah.
have even ever gone down this path? And I would say probably not, because he
Uh-huh.
introduced me to it. He, like you said, he took the time to actually bring me to the tracks, and actually show me what motocross was. And I remember he had an old like junky truck, and we like have to stop like every 30 minutes, put water in the radiator. And it was just cool, It was like old school shit, man. It was just like
Yeah.
like my dad. No, there's no cell phones. Like it was just like my
Uh-oh.
dad was like, "Cool, yeah, go with the neighbor. I'll see you later." Like it wasn't like even like how it is now, And it was cool times, dude. I think like I said, he got me into moto. I chased that dream. I knew that dirt bike was my way out of Nebraska. That's how I got into it. And I kind of just chased it from there. And it brought me to California. Like when I started meeting those kids from California at the amateur nationals, such as Loretta Lynn's and Ponca City, all the amateur races. I got to meet all these people from Cali, and I just knew like that those were my people. I was like, that's my crew. These dudes are like the lifestyle I want to live. And it's funny because I listened to like Motley Crue and like Guns N' Roses and all that stuff when I was younger, isn't it crazy? Then you go through life, and I made it to California. I always dreamed of these like crazy lifestyle that when I wanted to live, and it kind of all grew into that over time. Like getting to go ride dirt bikes with Tommy Lee, and getting to go. These people I grew up with, like never in a million years would you think, like, I'm gonna go on this venture and make the most out of this motorcycle and get to live this freaking wild lifestyle and get to see the world. And I don't know. Anyways, my moral of the story is, it's just like, dude, it's the dirt bike was the vessel, and the willpower was the ticket to like going on all these crazy adventures, and meeting guys like you guys, meeting. I think a lot of people that were pioneers, like the guys who are just like creating new shit, and I feel like that was you guys. And then you team up with guys like me who have the same mentality, and then you start creating cool shit. And I think that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah. Well, hey, Brian, real quick, the the shit that you did the other day when you dropped the VHSs and you're showing drum, dude. That was so funny. How thanks for that one. My wife Shelly said, make sure you thank him for doing that. That was cool.
Yeah,
We were laughing our ass off.
Dana shared that with me, and it's funny because Hayden thought it was like some sort of Game Boy or something.
He literally has no idea. Like if I gave
tape,
that,
it's like that big. Yeah.
he would have no idea to watch it.
You know, the funny thing is, I like when he read the title of the fourth one, "God Bless the Freaks," and his whole like expression. I was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!" It's like we got him on the title. I'm like, "Oh, we got him on that one." But yeah, those are good times. Like, literally when we started, Crusty One in Manly, we did the McGrath thing and Emick, and there was people like Phil Lawrence and Rhino and people that were rebels, and of course Manly and Joel Arbuck that were punks and just threw me off shit. But when you came out and Larry and say Feist Dog, and you guys came into like just a whole, like, even though you're at the races, like the whole style of the, I don't know, the snowboard free or the snowboard influence or whatever the hell it was, like you guys changed it, like the whole direction, and then imagine freestyle, the sport became like a gift to like what you guys were doing almost too.
I mean, think about it, like the timing of everything, and I don't know. It's like, could we do that again? I think it was a timing of an era, and it just all worked.
We must have met you in about 1994, I'm thinking. 93, 94.
Yeah.
Because that's when we were making Crusty One. And then back in those days, VHS tape was a way for people. We didn't have internet, like you're saying, didn't have cell phones, all that kind of stuff. VHS tape was a way to get around the world and show people, and it was the coveted, little movie that came out every year, kind of like the Powell Peralta, back in the skate days, and the surf films, and then I was doing, the Creatures of Habit with Dana, and Dana was a pro snowboarder, and then met you dudes, and we're like, you know what? We need a cast of characters. You were a character. We gave you a gun and a tank to come out in our show.
It's kind of cool, like
than that.
The video when we did the the first videos, like and started filming with you guys, we had already had the snowboard videos, and like you guys, like I kind of always caught on to doing the funny shit in the skits, and it seems like it gave like you guys the avenue because you guys were always super creative and coming up with all the funny shit that you guys you basically created a brand around it. You know what I mean? All the stuff that you and Larry did.
I think what it is, we gave Deegan and guys like Larry and Pastrana, the platform to show their skills other than racing and what we do, off campus. I'll say,
Yeah.
because racing, people don't really know what you're up to. They're just rooting for you to win that race. But
Yeah.
super cool that we went and did all these adventures other than racing. Took you to
Well,
Australia, all kinds of
Yeah.
different things. And
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Like, what are some of your favorite things that happened through that? X Games on. You guys created your own path from competition to just having fun at shows.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what's the
I
best
would
for
say
you?
that the best time I probably ever had was going to Australia for the first time with the Crusty Tour. And I'd been to Australia one time before with Metzger to race Supercross, and that was like in '94 or '95 or something. But either way, when we went, what year did we do Perth? That
that
first
was
Wait, I'll
1999,
never.
my friend. And if you remember getting on that plane, I remember we were flying to Perth. We had no idea where we're going. Everybody's drunk as hell getting on the plane. And we fly, and me and Seth wake up, and you guys put syrup in the back of our hair, and we were stuck to the back of the plane seats.
Yeah.
And then you woke up, and I put the most, that salmon that reeks on the plane you get for breakfast. And you woke up the next day, and I peeled my hair off, and Seth peeled his hair off the back of the seats, and you woke up with all that salmon on your face. You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
got mad at Metzger, and Metzger started whipping you with a seatbelt. You remember that?
Yeah. I do now. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
What's crazy is like so many memories that unfortunately I forgot a lot of them, just over time, right? Like your brain only can hold so much crap, but
I know.
and we didn't
You need
have
to
cell
delete
phones,
every once
right?
in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if we had cell phones, you probably would have been able to remember a lot more stuff. But like I said, I think there was a reason why the era worked, and I think it worked because there was no cell phones, because there was, this time and era in America and in the world that was it was a lot more free. Like you could kind of just do whatever. Like think of all the crap Larry and I did. Like literally the hotel rooms, throwing shit out of the hotel rooms
Hey,
and
we had to
literally,
pay
like,
for
I
some of
think
that. We had to pay for some of that shit.
I think that was like
yeah,
a 5-story building, and all your furniture was in the pool.
Hey,
they threw it out the window.
remember you guys
Yeah,
got the key to Carrie Hart's room and sent all that stuff in the Gold
yeah,
Coast one time. And then I came
they
back with
destroyed the
Carrie.
room.
Hey, I came back with Carrie, and they're like, "Oh, Larry and Brian, they went to the next town ahead with like they're such good boys, and we're taking the rap." And then you went and flipped the promoter's whole room.
Yeah.
Dude, that was so good.
Talk about
And now
Motley Crue. They
stuff.
would probably be scared of us.
I saw him with Crusty Demon guys. Yeah, the hate just rolled through. But yeah, I was thinking of that. I think of the stuff like even like talk about on an airplane with all these like the gnarliest guys in the prime of their life, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's pretty funny, and going to Perth, and it's just like the Wild West, like if that crowd of thousands of rowdy fans that were all
I
wasted.
think we had like 20,000 people there, and we had no idea what we were even doing.
Yeah, yeah, there's like a dozen security guys maybe, and like
Not even that.
thousands
They
of
were over there
people.
drinking beer. D.
Yeah, think about thousands of rowdy Australians, and then they start burning everything, throwing, breaking everything, burning the cop cars, and you think about it, that was the first show, and I think that's kind of why that kicked off so big, because that was in the newspaper, and that built this big aura about the Crusty Demons and this crew of guys, and it's dude, it was gnarly. Like at the end of the day, like they had to get us out of there. Remember in those vans, like the crowd was like
Oh my
attacked,
God.
going
Yeah,
crazy.
they were like, you guys are gonna get hurt. And we're
Yeah,
still playing to the crowd, like Metzger's
yeah,
throwing his helmet and all, getting
Oh,
tackled.
that's so funny. And then look how it wound up. Then some of the intros, like John saying, you come out in tanks, you got machine guns firing blanks, and
yeah,
like every time like if we did a show nowadays, especially like in America, and you ghost ride bikes into each other and this and that, like bring Mad Mike Jones
Tell
back
people
around.
like how dangerous that is. Like in the middle of our show, and you guys are just
Yeah.
ghost riding bikes. You have no idea where it's gonna land.
No, you guys
Yeah.
lit the bikes on
Answer.
fire
You'll
and
see your
stuff too.
friend on
Lighting
the
bikes
floor.
on fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then
lighting
remember
on
we kept
fire.
telling the crowd to like storm the
Oh,
floor, and the crowd would jump the wall, thousands of
Mr.
people.
Larry Linkogel, storm the stadium.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I give you full permission,
Yeah.
storm the stadium, and they did.
And they did, yeah.
That was like
yeah.
15,000 people running down there. And, yeah,
I
we did.
posted this. I just posted this on YouTube, and somebody's like, "Oh, I was a little kid. I ran down onto the field with everybody else."
See his memories.
Passing cars and oh yeah,
The old
Oh,
memories.
yeah, no, it's
yeah.
awesome. Good times, good times.
What do you think was your favorite moment on the Crusty tour with all that mayhem? Do you think it would be one of those like storm the stadium or Perth, or what would be your favorite?
Yeah, I know we did a lot. I know we did a lot of shows and
Yeah.
traveled a lot of places. And some places were like in the middle of nowhere, right? Like I don't know, like what did you say? Was it Coolawanga or something? It was
No,
like
Kalgoorlie we went after Perth.
Calgary, yeah. So,
There was
dude, yeah,
people coming in and out, breaking windows through the thing, and I think people were on some substances or
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It was, dude. So I would say, when I think of the Krusty tour, I always I always think back to like that first show in Perth, and like all how it all played out, and it was all just so like winging it, right? It was like super winging it, and
Oh, yeah.
then after that, it's kind of crazy even going like back to America. I feel like in Australia it was like kind of no rules,
Yeah,
you
and then you
kind of
come
do
back
what.
to America and it's rules.
Yeah, and there was
Well,
yeah, you come back and it's just back to
Yeah.
remember
rules. But
we tried to do a show in America, and it was just so stupid because you couldn't turn the lights off and this and that. We just kind of
yeah,
canned it or canned it or whatever. But
yeah.
I was going through some photos the other day, and I got some sick photos of when you made the first compound in Elsinore,
Uh-huh.
and that was another first. You were the first guy to like ever do a sick like freestyle compound.
Yeah.
Came across some of those. Remember that place?
You're saying the one in California?
Yeah, by the Lake Elsinore track.
Yes. So we did a freestyle park there. Yeah, I don't know what made us do that, but we built a pretty sick freestyle park there. And that's where that like we put up the big sign that basically said no trespassing, and like talk crap on like it like called everyone out.
Oh
It was
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
sick.
yeah.
Yeah. It said
I
like
remember
Mitch Payton. It said all the names. It was pretty bad. Typical Larry fashion, It was he definitely always took it to like way beyond to another level. But yeah, that place really helped create freestyle. Also that was a good training ground for like Feist and all the crew. Seth. I just remember a lot of good filming sessions there and memories. And then I do remember a lot of moto guys would ride the track, and they would always ask, "Hey, I could let me hit that ramp, or I could hit the ramp, this deal," and we'd always be like, "Okay, hit it." And that ramp like took out so many moto guys. Like it just so many guys crashed there. Yeah, that was a pretty good memory there.
yeah, those were cool. I mean, you guys legitified the sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys are the ones that legitified the whole thing. And I remember we were doing the fucking funny skits, like the Rampomatic skits and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a cool time with it's even Supercross because in dirt bikes, Supercross has always been the pinnacle. That's like the coolest thing of dirt bikes was the Supercross series, and it's kind of a cool, I would say, like mixing grounds where you could get some of those Supercross guys to go ride with the freestyle guys. Even though at first there was like some bad blood there because we were anti racers, we were just like all about free riding and And then eventually, I feel like that kind of like you guys were pretty good at bridging the gap of, the
Yeah.
pro, free riding, having fun, and the freestyle guys going out there. Because before that, I feel like the supercross guys kind of looked like down on us, like on the freestyle guys as
Well,
like the misfits.
the beginning, the very beginning, the reason of Krusty was to show what the racers were doing, having fun, because it seemed like, from my eyes, with hanging out with Manly,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the racing was cool as all pent up though, and nobody saw what they were doing on the weekends. So that's kind of like where we got into the whole thing, and they just didn't know that you were going to move into Temecula.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
because I mean, we all
that,
ended up at the same spot, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And they accepted you, but then when you ghost rided your bike, like you won the Supercross, you went for a ghost ride. They're like, man, I don't know, he's bending the rules a little bit.
Yeah, and that I feel like that was kind of our, probably my last year or so in racing, and it got to a point where I started getting paid to go free riding, and such sponsors such as Etnies and Black Flies, which you guys introduced me to that, and that's cool for me. I got to go down there and be in that Orange County was such a cool scene back then, going to. So like, for a young kid from Nebraska, going
Hey,
to all
what
these
about
crazy.
Damien's parties? What
Yeah,
about, I
yeah,
remember when
yeah,
the first time you guys ever came to Damien or to Huntington,
yeah,
it was like it was you, Mets. Wasn't it you and Mets, maybe?
yeah.
Or
Me and Metzger, and then yeah,
yeah, and it was one of the pimp and whore party, or well, it was house, but
It
yeah,
was the
yeah,
Pimp
that
and Hoe Party, and we pretty much made those for Creatures of Habit, the movie that
yeah.
I was doing in snowboarding. And
Uh-huh.
then you guys kind of got a whiff of what we were doing, I think, in
I
California,
guess.
and we brought you right in. When you say, Brian, misfits, and you guys were the misfits, you and Deegs, I
Yeah,
mean, Mets,
yeah,
but McGrath and Emmett, they became part of that whole thing. That we
yeah,
were kind of on this movement, and you guys were perfect for our films. What characters we could make out of you. How
yeah,
important is it to get a part in a movie like that, like a Crusty movie or a Triple X
yeah.
or a surf movie or skate movie, Powell Peralta. How important is that as a platform as an athlete?
Yeah, it was a big deal, especially when I just remember it was like the mid 90s, probably about 94, 95 is when you guys were doing the first Crusties, and I remember it was like a really, really big deal to try to get a part in the movie, and it's yeah, to be actually even still to this day, you think of all the people who watch Krusty One, what the influence that movie had on the world, on the world of even the world of action sports, the world of moto. Everyone has seen that video. Everyone in their at least their 30, 40, 50-year-old men have all seen it. That ride dirt bikes, and so you feel like it was so important to be a part of the movies, especially the first few videos. It was just such a movement, and like still to this day, dude. People talk about it all the time. It's just an aura that people like. I go to the Supercross races now. There's thousands of fans because of because of the Hayden's racing and winning the Supercross stuff in our YouTube channel and all this. There's another wave of fans coming, and then their
Yeah.
parents are always like, "Oh, well, I used to watch every Krusty movie." That's usually that the parents of these kids that are coming to the races now, and it's cool because it was important to be in the movies because it was like more of like a legacy, and not everyone got to be in them, like you couldn't just like be in the movie for nothing. Like it had to be doing something. Like it had to be doing something crazy on a dirt bike or crazy skit or something funny or like destroying something. It had to be like you had to kind of earn it for sure.
The
But
other thing I was
the
just
funny
thinking
thing.
about where you were talking about that time period is like now you would never get all the big racers to go and free ride almost at all, you know? And that's, I think that video, that time period appealed to hardcore racers. Cause I know as a kid I raced, obviously there was no freestyle yet. And I'm like watching like McGrath and Emick and those guys. And I'm like, dude, these guys are awesome. Cause they're also hanging out and free riding, and it made them more of regular people. And then at the same time, freestyle was basically just, you know, taking off.
Yep. Yeah. And then, those, like I said, it was like a good timing. I feel like, that even that aura that the 90s riders were still like, they're still partying, but they hid it, they didn't really show that side, and they were more of like hiding that, even though, but nowadays, like, most of the racers don't even do that much. So like, you wouldn't really be able to pull that off like this to this day. Like, they're, the top guys, I say my son would probably go free riding and go have some fun in a video, but like, as far as like most racers, probably not. It's just like everyone's too serious now with their training.
I think we lived in an era like it was different. It was more of like it was a lifestyle, because remember, like, not only would we go dirt biking, we go snowboarding up to Freedies. We go. Remember, we went snowmobiling and do all that shit. Like it's kind of like not like we just lived a lifestyle of just taking shit to like a next level. Like in the sport of motorcycles, you guys just created your own path, you know what I mean? But beyond that was more of the timing of the movies and everything about it, from the, not necessarily, partying, just events. Whatever you did, sitting there in the backyard in the compound and making up tricks, and then the foam pit, and then, all that shit that went along with it. It's like, what a piece of history. Now it's kind of like looking back at a little bit of history,
Yeah, and I feel like there's a spot really in the Motorcycle Hall of Fame. There has to be something about this era, right? And I'm not sure what it is. I know Pastrana has already been inducted to that, but I feel like I feel like there should be something about this movement of this, of this freestyle and movies and all that stuff. This movement that really changed the sport. And you think about how many more dirt bikes got sold because of these movies.
Oh, yeah. It's funny though. Crusty Demons, to me, will never get a fucking like. Remember, like, the dirt bike companies were scared to death of us. They were the devil. Like, even though we sold so many extra dirt bikes for them, dude, we never got no love from any.
They wanted to be associated from afar.
Like, maybe after we're gone, long and gone, they'll be like, oh yeah, well, you were in the Hall of Fame. We did something, like, but to give like us troublemakers acknowledgement right now, fucking thank you. And
I know, right?
wait, we ain't done yet. We ain't done fucking shit up yet. Anyways, sorry, we can edit that.
Hey, Deegs, I got a question for you, Deegs.
Mm-hmm.
What were you feeling when we went out to Beaumont? Because we're showing footage right here.
Yeah.
And we brought out this, 13-year-old kid, Pastrana, and you guys are eyeballing that thing that Mickey Diamond built, and we called it the diving board.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? And it was so sketchy going down. Pastrana goes down, and he greased the thing, and you're over there going, "Oh, motherfucker!"
Yeah.
Now I got to do that for the movie part. What does that feel like? Like, like, man, I want the best movie part, and that guy, he's not going to upstage me. What goes through your mind?
Yeah, that's what it was about, especially back in the day, like trying to get the certain movie parts. And Mickey would build some gnarly shit. Every so often he would come out with some crazy ass jump. Whether he would jump it or not, he would build these wild jumps. And that diving board jump was, I just remember, you come down this hill and you hit this lip that was really poppy, steep lip. And it must have shoveled that thing for days. It was like, so.
Now, let me correct you, John. Let me correct you on that. I built that. Me and Nick Ciotti built that like a snowboard jump. You know, I mean, that's
Really?
why it was like a little. Yeah, Nick Ciotti built it, and it sat there for probably like 3 months or 2-3 months till Pastrana's ass came out and just, I'll hit it, and then I had to send him home with a broken wrist. But
Yeah, yeah. So that makes sense. So either way, you come down this gnarly, dusty road, hit this big poppy lip, and it's the landing was sketchy. It was to like this little like edge of a hill, and then right was the vert of the landing went down, and then it went to this abrupt like flat spot. And
Yeah.
so if you over jumped it at all, you're literally landing on flats. And
Yeah.
and so Travis like comes down. Me, I think 13-year-old kid. Like at that point, you really have no fear. And the dude was one of the best riders in the world. And comes down, hits the jump, nails it. And then obviously sitting there watching, you're like, dude, I can't like just not jump the jump, So especially after someone hits it, you're just like, and you kind of at that point get to see, okay, how fast do I hit it? And so I come down the hill and hit the jump, and then it was gnarly. I just remember it was nerve-wracking because it was so sketchy, and that's one of those moments where you're like, I could get hurt right now, like pretty easily. But back then you didn't really care. You just wanted to get like the shot, get in the video. And so anyway, hit the jump, boom, nail it. And then Travis goes to hit it again or whatever, and try to do a trick, I think, and ends up over jumping it, breaks his wrist. And I got to think now because I watched the it was part of like a movie. It showed like the highlights of Krusty's. I was on YouTube or something, and with my son, I was watching with Hayden, and then it showed Pastrana coming out as a young kid, and he can relate to that because he was that kid, and in racing, the top kid, and I'm thinking about this like Travis is 13, like literally like hanging out with a bunch of dudes like across the other side of the country. And I mean the parents must have been crazy. And then
no,
it's
he
so,
hung out with my son when he was here, just played video games the whole time. And then I take him riding, and he come home and go to sleep at 8 o'clock.
yeah, which is cool because like at the end of the day, the kid he was a good kid, right? All around. He wasn't
Oh,
a rebel kid. He like was literally raised to be this like really G-rated kid.
All
But
American.
he
yeah.
All American
all
boy.
American kid, which kind of was the
Oh,
total what would you say? It was the total opposite of what all of us were. So that's what
yeah, but
kind of made it even more intriguing,
the funny thing is, in the beginning, you were saying like how some neighbor just took you riding and shit,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, I was kind of like that guy that talked his mom into putting one on a plane, and I picked him up, and he had these little brown cords in, a tucked in shirt, and we took him to
Yeah.
Black Flies and got him some t-shirts real quick and fixed it up. But, yeah, and then you were there too. You were the one that showed him what was up there right alongside of us because you were the talent. I wasn't the talent. You know what I mean? I just was the middleman. And those days of Beaumont and all those days were like, those are golden. Those are good times.
And we threw him right into the mix of like Nathan Fletcher and Trigger and that whole thing right out of the gate. Yeah.
Well, you still do all the stuff with Travis nowadays because Travis. Okay, wait a minute. So now Travis, he sets up so many people get hurt around that dude. So he's not, he'll let you send it. But
times 10.
He mixed it up still. I think another thing
I think he doesn't realize how much better he is than everybody else. I think he just tells people to do stuff that he can do easy. And it's like, no, almost nobody else could do that.
No, he's grinning on the
loud. The green light. Yeah, go, bro. You're good.
Hey, what about
slip and slide in your backyard? Are you kidding me? We're almost hitting down that thing.
Well, you were the first one to kind of get a jump into to four-wheel. You started racing core trucks. You kicked ass, man. I mean, you came in and like a lot of people try to run the game and be the core truck racer, and it wasn't as easy as they thought. I don't think,
No, and I always had a racing background, so for me, freestyle motocross was an awesome run. All new, is all new path to go down, and everything was new and exciting, and I was able to create, businesses out of it and many relationships. But I always missed racing. So, and I was able to get back to racing with the off-road trucks and the rally cars. And I mean, really thanks to Travis. He's the one who brought rally car into X Games. And so that gave me the fuel to go, at some point you get into, you're 30 years old, and you're like, dude, I can't backflip dirt bikes forever. Like, and you start
Yeah.
thinking, I got these relationships with all these sponsors and partners. What can I do with them? I can't just end this run and do nothing. So I was able to parlay it into car and truck racing, and for me that was exciting to get back to racing. And then I took it super serious and really focused on it. Was able to turn it into a career, another 10-year run of off-road trucks and winning all that. And I was, once again, great timing. Was at the highlight of the sport with the Lucas Oil Series, and kind of rode that wave for like 10 years. And then I focused on my kids. At that point I was kind of like, okay, I had Haley and Hayden, and I was like, how many more years can I chase my dreams, my goals? And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put all this into my kids. And that was the turning point. And then I was able to really now relive it all again. It's another chapter, but through them, like through their journeys. Which, like I said, the other day I sat down and watched Krusty's with Hayden, and we were laughing about Travis Pastrana as a kid. And when they showed that I don't know what Krusty's it was, but it was the L.A. It was in L.A. when he did the premiere down there, and then they started turning into riots.
Oh, the riot.
Yeah, then it was like all these
Crusty
riots,
3 at
and
the
I'm like,
Palladium.
look at Pastrana, dude. He's just chilling like this little kid in the middle with his parents in the middle of all these riots, dude. I was like, dude, we were dying laughing.
And they're from Maryland. They're like, what do we do?
They
Where are
never
we
seen
going?
that shit
There's
before.
chicks with, in the limos with hot tubs going by, and helicopters, and cops with batons and beating people into the street.
I feel like Robert knew what to do.
That was his first part in Crusty 3 when we made him the All-American Kid.
Yeah, we invited him out to the premiere. We invited him out, his whole family.
I mean, honestly, dude, like I think about that with Hayden, like going, would I have ever let that happen with my kid, right? Like, it was such a funny time, and obviously I lived it and did kind of hypocritical, but at the end of the day, like, I look at it, I'm like, in the end, Pastrana was, I look at him as one of the best racers of all time. He stood up, walked away from a sport at the pinnacle of his career, and said, you know what, I'm done with the factory ride. I'm going to go do freestyle and go build my other things. And he become one of the most financially and marketable people in the world. And because he took a chance and he walked away from racing and created an empire. And I'd like, well, always give him credit for that, because most people can't think outside that box. They get caught in the rut, the factory racer rut, and they get, run that thing all the way out to the end. And I'm like, man, he really, really went against the grain, dude. But yeah, have you looked at his X-ray pictures?
Oh yeah,
the full body one.
Isn't that gnarly?
Yeah, it's gnarly. I get
what
it.
About
man.
yours?
Which I have my for sure injuries, and like that Winter X Games crash where I did that 360 in the snow and under rotated, landed on the ice, shattered my hip and my both arms, and that's probably one of the worst ones, I would say. And then I had that crash doing Viva La Bam, under rotated the flip.
Yeah, that one was gnarly.
That was gnarly. Handlebars went in my stomach, blew up my kidney and spleen. And I remember it was like almost an hour till I got to the hospital, and like I was literally dying. I was bleeding out.
Yeah.
It ripped my kidney off my artery. So
that one
was very, very, very.
So literally, you're bleeding out inside.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't. Like on the way to the hospital, I just remember I was falling asleep. And trying not to fall asleep, where you're just like chewing on your lip or your tongue, like trying to stay awake. And I just like, that was a gnarly one like that. And then in the
That was the
hospital,
gnarliest.
that was the gnarliest for sure. Because I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna die at Winter X Games, but I was gonna die that day because of my kidney. Like
Yeah.
that was a near death because my skin started turning jaundice yellow, and I just remember that I went in the ER and is like this Indian doctor like looks over me and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna go in. You have very very light pulse, so we're gonna do everything we can." He's like, that's when he said, "Is there anything you want to tell your family?" Because he like really thought like I may die right now. That's what the doctor was thinking because I had such a light pulse. And anyway, that was a gnarly situation there. I'd say
Yeah. I
that was
remember.
by far the heaviest, injury, heaviest crash.
What did they have to take out of you? Your spleen, or what happened?
So they ended up like giving me that scar all the way down here on my stomach, and they ended
Yeah.
up cutting my stomach open, and then they open it up, they cut through your stomach muscle, and they start laying out each organ until they see what's bleeding, and so they laid out my intestines,
Huh.
the liver, the kidneys, and they saw my kidney they said it was shattered, like exploded basically, and they said my artery was severed and just pumping blood out.
And that's
And
where the
so
handlebar came in,
yeah,
exploded. Yeah.
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 So the handlebars, like it was weird. It wasn't even that big of a crash. It was just an under rotated flip. And the curvature of the bar, how the bar handlebar curves up, went perfectly under my rib cage and just popped, like exploded my kidney and my spleen. It was like a
Oh,
gnarly punch to the stomach. And it
Yeah.
felt like I just got shot with a gun in my stomach. It was just like fire. You know when you break a bone, that fire? Well, that's what you feel in my stomach. And man, I was scared. That was scary. That was one of the gnarliest injuries. And they ended up taking my kidney out because it was destroyed. And they ended up saving my spleen. They like did some surgery on my spleen and saved it. But
Yeah.
and I remember like literally like going under, and then like I remember waking up and having tubes everywhere. And I was in Pennsylvania at Bam's house, and by
Yeah.
that point, Marisa had already got the call. Hey, your husband might not make it. You should be here. And so she flew from California to Pennsylvania. By the time I woke up, like the surgery was that long, and I woke up. My dad was in the room, and she was there. And I'd been in the hospital. I stayed there for a couple weeks on recovery, and um anyway, they and Marisa was really sick, like got really sick while we were at the hospital, and she ended up taking a pregnancy test and found out she was pregnant with Hayden at the hospital. So you
Oh,
figure out how heavy like that whole week was, right? Like it was like,
yeah.
imagine if I would have died, right? Like it would have been like, all that snowballing, and then Hayden
Yeah. With
being
the sun
born,
on
and
the way and everything. Yeah.
yeah, in his career, his life would have been completely different. Like, what I'm saying? He wouldn't have been down this path of what he's down. So there's so many forks in the road. Like if I
Yeah.
went
yeah.
back and called out every fork in the road that got me to where I'm at, there's some gnarly forks, if you think
Hell
about
yeah.
it. So, but
It made
yeah,
you made good moves though. Like how you're giving hats off to Travis, but like for
yeah,
what you did, like with your kids, and I raised two kids while we were doing all that,
yeah,
filming
hmm
Crusty and travel and all that. And I used to, come filming and have my little Grom standing there. But like what you did, between because I remember, the kids used to run the trophy carts at the races while you're
yeah,
doing the off road. But to
hmm
go to NASCAR and then the Supercross and to watch all that, like as a parent, like I know that the harder you push a kid in a certain way, the more they want to go the other way. So to what you accomplish is, it's pretty amazing. It's, you a lot of people look up to that. A lot of people just go, man, that's
hmm
pretty impressive,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
I think a lot of people look back and still categorize me as this militia '90s guy. Like, and they still have me in that category, and I'm like, yeah, it's cool. That was a chapter of my life for sure. That's a chapter
Yeah.
that got me to where I'm at today, and I don't regret it. I think it was a cool time of my life, and it was all real, right? That was all like these, like you're living this wild lifestyle,
Yeah.
and people were intrigued by it, we were able to build big business and just do cool shit, and was able to give back to the riders. And it's just a badass movement. And still to this day, like Larry and I still own Militia, which a lot of people think we sold it, and we never did. We ended up licensing it to La Jolla. That's when it blew up. But it's kind of funny. I had some offers to sell it years ago, and I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just like kind of a legacy thing. And I think it's it's one of those. You guys know. You guys have your stuff, so you just some of those
I'm still
things that
running Flesh Gear. I still do Flesh
exactly.
Gear.
Yeah,
Remember you rode for Flesh Gear at one time in the
yeah, I
very
did.
beginning. Remember?
Yeah, when we
Yeah.
wore the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I was smart enough to sell it. I never was smart enough to sell
I know,
it.
right?
Yeah, but it's all good. I'm still living the dream, having fun.
We got some pretty good offers for like Crusty, and we thought, you know what? That's our baby. We're not going to sell our baby that we built all these years, kind of like what you're saying. So me and Dana are sole owners still of Crusty Humans out there and Flesh Gear. But yeah, like you're saying, we never wanted to sell it. It's like we just want to keep going, on this adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like legacy stuff, kind of like Thrasher is to skate, it's just like it'll always be that like a legacy deal,
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I want to give you a high five on being married. So too, to Marissa, tell her I said hi. I'm still married to Shell. She's still putting up with my ass.
Yeah.
Here comes. You know what I mean? It's hard to say. It's hard to say for a lot of people,
Yeah, it is because especially being an athlete, traveling the world, and like that, you live that lifestyle, and being able to to balance all that, and and I think there comes a point when you have kids, you're like, okay, it's not about me, like and it's more about like, hey, what's the best thing for these kids, being raised in this world and these sports and all this stuff, and it's for us like the best program's been mom and dad, being there helping the kids. That's been our best, ability to succeed, and you can see the results of it. So, yeah. And to say, like I said, I'm a normal guy. It's nothing's ever easy, right? It's marriage is good. And you have days it's not. You have days it's hard, right? Like so, and
Hey,
it's just like every other dude. It's the same shit for everyone, and but for me, it's worked out for the better.
how's this one? I'll give you. Okay, I just got back from the desert. We went out to my wife's friend was doing like some breast cancer thing. They had a race, like a powder puff. Yeah. So I actually talked my wife into getting in my trophy truck this weekend. First time ever. I was like just blown away. But being married is like, I was like, what an accomplishment. It was pretty fun.
That's cool.
I never thought that would happen, but yeah, that's cool. Yeah, good times, bad times, but yeah, no, I'm proud of you, man. I was from the first time I met you, man. Come a long ways, Brian.
Hey, Brian, I'm just curious, how old are the kids now?
So yeah, Haley's just turned. She's 23, and then
23.
Hayden, and Hayden's 18, and Hudson's 14. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Got the 3-pack.
Yeah.
Remember Danger Boy watching Seth try to do a backflip at your house and just landing on his head?
Yeah.
Seth tried to go to dirt on a backflip. He's like, uh-oh, accident.
Yeah. He saw a lot of shit for sure,
Yeah. Compound.
Yeah. So what's next on the agenda for you guys?
So we're back in Florida now. Like, we moved to Florida from Temecula in California. We ended up selling our house and coming to Florida to help Hayden chase his, racing goals of Supercross and motocross. And we live down in Tallahassee. It's we're here for the, Carmichael's like farm he built, like goat farm. He ended up selling that to Yamaha. And so Hayden signed with Yamaha. So we had to come down here to train, and it's been good, man. It's been good for Hayden. He's 18, so he's good for him to kind of get him out of California right now, I feel, and get him focused on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
California's a
There's
little
still the
wacky.
same distraction, still the same shit.
What did
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see
yeah.
on movies or television that made you want to move from Nebraska and come to California? Was something you saw on television or ESPN, or you saw like a VHS movie of maybe what me and Dana were doing, or what was like the spark to just go, you know what? I'm out. I'm going. You said, there was a lot of racing and stuff.
Yeah.
Was there other inspirations like what
I
me and
feel like,
Dana were doing in
like I said,
skateboarding?
I did all the amateur nationals as a kid,
Yeah.
and I got to meet like a lot of the guys from California, and that was my biggest influence because I wanted to be
Yeah.
like it was mainly like it snowed in the winters in Nebraska, so you couldn't ride, and I was
Yeah.
kind of at that level where I wanted to turn pro, and I knew I had to be in Cali, and I just remember when I first showed up in California, you remember like Joel Albrecht lived out Ritchie Canyon,
Of course.
Yeah.
and they took me
Yeah.
out there, and I remember it was like Billy Phelps, like I stayed with him, and he took me to Ritchie Canyon, and it was Buddy Antonez, like Jeff Immig, and
Yeah.
the Albrechts, and they had that track at their house with all these gnarly jumps, and I just remember going there and riding for the first time, and I was tripping. I was like, dude, this is gnarly. Like I've never seen hills like this, all these road jumps. And I just remember showing up, and I remember I was like sketched out to hit anything. And I was at the point I was, like still a decent amateur racer, and I remember I was rolling some of the jumps, and they're like, "Hey, bro, if you're not gonna hit the jumps, get the fuck off the track." and, and I'll never forget that, dude.
Get
And
out of the way, bro. Yeah.
yeah, it was like so California, dude, like North Shore. But they basically
Yeah. If you're not gonna
introduced me.
catch the wave, bro,
Yeah. They
try to
introduced me
go.
to,
Try to go,
but I
bro.
loved it. I loved California. Everything about it was cool to me. Everything, and I loved the weather, and the motocross scene was badass. Like, I feel like if anything, what pulled me out there was it was wanting to ride year round and seeing the videos or seeing the pictures, and there was old videos back then. There was still some VHS videos out on moto, like on Supercross, and then there was some other, like there was skate videos that were cool, like the Animal Chin deal, and
Yeah. Pal
um
Peralta stuff. Bones
yeah,
Brigade.
Pal Peralta
Yeah.
videos that were sick. So all those things, like I saw Tony Hawk, that stuff intrigued me.
Hey,
Yeah.
that ride out of Joel Albrecht's house, I mean, that was kind of like coming, from where we came and with snowboarding and going Manly.
Yeah.
It was the same deal. Like that place was so amazing, Ritchie
Yeah.
Canyon, and like what they had there was just sick.
Yeah,
Did
it's
you go up
badass, dude.
did you go up the Kamikaze?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that like iconic area, right? Like you think of
Yeah.
how big that area was, the playground area in Ritchie, and
Yeah.
now I drive through Beaumont quite a bit when I go. When I'm in Temecula, I go through Beaumont to go to the river to Havasu because we end up buying some
Oh, yeah.
property there, and
Yeah.
so I drive through there, and dude, you just think of you just reminisce on all the crazy
Yeah,
memories.
the Jackrabbit Trail.
Yeah, it's some cool shit. Like
We
some
didn't
cool
we didn't
stuff.
know the landowners or the farmers
No,
or whatever. We just went in, broke all the
yeah,
gates down, and
yeah. No one asked for anything.
we didn't ask. We'll just say sorry after.
Yeah, you get shot at out there. We got shot at a few times, but
You get the shotgun with the salt loads.
yeah,
Yeah, so and nowadays you go through Temecula and stuff. Like I remember when we would go to your house and Larry's and stuff, we would just ride right out of your house and
Yeah.
just through the neighborhoods and all over the place. And
yeah,
nowadays it's like a freeway out there. Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah,
How
yeah.
it changes.
So
Yeah,
Deeg,
it's all grown
I
over.
got a question for you.
Hmm.
So all of a sudden we're doing, like 1999, we're going to Australia, we're putting on this, crazy show. And then all of a sudden we get invited to the X Games. Never had motorcycles in it
Yeah.
before. And you're thinking of, I'm going to throw these giant spikes on my shoulders. I'm going to come out like Guar. And Larry's got the same thing going.
Yeah.
What were you guys thinking? Like, this is our limelight. we're gonna be on television. We're just gonna, play up these characters. What were you guys going for?
Yeah, so you got to think this is 99
Yeah,
X Games, and X Game had been around since like 94 or 95,
yeah,
and
but
to
it didn't have
me,
motorized anything.
they didn't have Moto. Moto. This is the first year of Moto, right? So,
Yeah,
because you got to think, dude, I still have the tickets for our first freestyle demo we did in Winchester Arena. Me and Larry did in '97 at that
yeah,
Cow Arena, and we had like heavy metal bands play, and it actually was like this pretty sick event. But it's before ramps; it was all dirt, and
yeah,
so anyway, it was till '99 when actually they created the sport of freestyle and brought it to ESPN and X Games. And I
yeah.
think Mickey Diamond was like the leading the charge on that at the time,
Yeah,
which is pretty
yeah.
funny.
So it was
But
back with Mickey in that era. Yes.
yeah, it was his. Yeah, it was not at his highlight era, but he was still leading
Yeah.
the charge of the freestyle movement. I
And
remember
all he did was he built all those jumps like 100 feet.
yeah, everything was massive, and
Yeah,
I remember he showed Larry and I his concept because he wanted to build it at Les's property there, Larry's dad's property in
yeah,
Temecula, and he's
uh-huh,
the only one with all this land, and um, he showed us on a piece of cardboard with clay. He built this whole freestyle park on with clay, and
yeah,
showed us like this is what I want to build, and it was like this big bowl with all these different hits, and then Larry's dad let him build it there, and that was the first freestyle park ever built. And well, it
yeah,
was so fun. That was such a fun spot to ride, and then they ended up bringing that to X Games and creating freestyle motocross. And I remember it was like only like they could barely even fill the roster with riders at the time. There was probably 8 or 9 guys that were even good enough to even go. And
yeah,
but yeah, and I saw it as Tony Hawk's huge, right? At this point, Tony Hawk's a household name.
yeah,
You had Ryan Nyquist, Dave Mira, all the heavy hitters of X Games, right? And
yeah,
then I thought, okay, we got invited to X Games. This is badass. How are we going to steal the show?
yeah.
And that's kind of like how Larry and I were like, we're going full heavy metal. And Travis is obviously the goody two shoe guy, and we're going to be the heavy metal rebels, and that was the metal militia, and
The
we
guy in
showed up with the
white horse,
spikes.
and the guy in the black horse. Yeah,
The spikes. And do you remember that interview we did with we did an interview with local radio, dude, and it was so bad. Like we were talking so much crap. It was just like I can't even like listen to it today. It's so bad. Like it was like
how old were you right then when you're doing that with the spikes in the 1999?
so I walked away from racing in 99 from Supercross, and I was probably
Yeah.
22, 23 years old.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I was, probably around that age, So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a year Chavez he sent his bike into
Yeah.
to the fucking ocean. He tried to steal
Yeah.
the show. He's like, fuck,
Didn't
these
they-
guys are doing all
Freak
this.
out a little bit on that one.
Yeah, and I was stoked. I mean, he tried to backflip into the bay, and Fox kind of set that up and had it all dialed, which was cool. I mean, it still lives on today, right? That picture.
Yeah.
And that was a rebellion moment of freestyle motocross into X Games. Like, oh, they couldn't really even control us within their own world. And then he ended up almost going to jail. The cops were there, right? And they wanted to arrest him. I remember we were dying. We're like, oh, dude, I hope he gets arrested. This is going to be so sweet. And we thought it was just so cool that he was going to get arrested. Yeah.
How does the clean cut kid get arrested out of everybody?
Yeah, and that because they said it was an environmental hazard, like the oil and gas going into the shitty bay.
And his bike ends up landing on a car down in the bay.
Yeah, in the bay. So, and I was laughing because I remember they wanted to take him to jail, and ESPN had to fight off the cops. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. I was like, dude, if this kid gets arrested, but he was so young. There probably is nothing they could really do about it, I think.
Well, they took his prize money, didn't they? Like 10,000.
Yeah, they ended up taking his. They had to do something.
They fined him. They fined him whatever the prize money was, basically.
I think it was $10,000, but I think Fox, like you said, Deegan, was so cool that they topped him up. And
For sure.
gave them the prize money, and because they were in on it.
Yeah, they're full. He had a life
ESPN
jacket
doesn't like
on.
to
Yeah.
talk about this. They don't. Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
taboo to even talk
Are
about
you gonna
in the bay with a dirt bike. Yeah. How
Are
many
you gonna
times
come
do we
out?
go in the bay at Sydney in the harbor doing
Yeah.
double backflips and over ships and all kinds of stuff? They didn't give it.
No, Australia is way more loose, dude.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Are you gonna be out at Hammers this year, Brian?
Yeah, I'll go out and race again with a Can-Am deal, so it gives me a little excitement, something to do, and still get to do a little bit of racing, and that's a gnarly
Yeah.
race. But I think we may go back. We may go back to Australia, dude. It's been a long time. Like Hayden's getting offers to go race Supercross over there, So,
Oh
um,
yeah.
in
That'd be
Melbourne.
fun.
So,
Oh,
of all
that.
places,
You know that place.
yeah, I know, right?
Do you
Yeah,
That's
think?
I
awesome.
haven't
Do
been
you
there in
think
so
other
long.
than the United States, what would be your favorite country? I'm just gonna guess maybe Australia.
Oh yeah, for sure, and I think that's by far. I mean, think about how far it is from America, and it's the closest country to America. And I feel like, as far as tradition and how they act, and I
And
feel like
lifestyle and all that. Yeah,
it's just, dude, for being that far away from here, they
yeah,
emulate America, and I feel like that country is kind of like how America was 100 years ago. I feel like
yeah.
that's like it's just kind of more Wild West. And I
Oh
haven't
yeah.
I haven't been there a long time, so I don't know. It may be totally freaking all.
We went back last year with Matt Biden and Bub and all that bullshit and did I don't know, we had a couple monster trucks running and the
Yeah.
whole dirt bike thing. It was like a little motorsports thing. It was fun. It was just super Australian, super hillbilly. It was like one
Yeah.
of Bub's buddies. It
Yeah.
was
So
ridiculous.
Dana, tell Deeg,
Australian.
tell Deegs when you went in the competition to air it out over the cars in the monster truck. What you did? You did
Yeah,
like
no,
Lander.
I hit the jump, when you like fucking you unload off of something, and
Yeah.
I pulled back on the steering wheel a little bit, and the quick release popped off. So I aired out the
You had the
monster
steering
truck.
wheel in his hand.
Oh, you fucking kidding me? The thing was such a piece of crap.
That's funny.
And then Matt's his shit didn't even run for crap either. It was good. We took those guys to
four-wheel crawl like a crab.
yeah, we took them to Bondi Beach and stuff, and they had never been to Australia before.
Yeah.
And something just broke, and it's like they're just like, "Are you kidding me?" And Biden's mechanic, they're tripping. And BJ was like, "Oh fuck, this place is nuts."
Good old like Manly Beach, Bondi. Those are the spots, dude.
Yeah, I remember that one time, the first tour in Manly, when Rusty was there and Link and you, and I remember you guys were running around doing a photo shoot on the beach. I'll never forget those days. Oh, that was our first invasion of Manly Beach, I think.
I know. I said, dude, they loved us there, though, bro. Like, it was like rock star status, dude. They just like kind of let you do whatever you want,
What about
Yeah.
the equivalent of like the Hell's Angels that comes out, the coffin cheaters that meets us at the airport everywhere that we go? You got the gnarliest guys. Like
Yeah.
Twitch was saying, like his girlfriend, or at that time now wife, was getting off from one of the vehicles, and these dudes that are twice as big as her, and they're like, "Oh, you going to level 4?" and getting in the elevator, and all the coffin cheaters are in there, and she gets off, and she goes, "I'm just gonna get off here," and they go, "Yep, we're going there too," and they're just following her, and they knock on Twitch's door, and she's like, "Oh my god, these guys are all going to my room." What the fuck? Twitch opens the door, and he's like, "Hey, motherfuckers, what the fuck?" She's like, "Oh my god, I thought I was gonna get raped, or I was
Getting killed. Yeah.
scenario." Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
those dudes
What's funny is everything turned corporate though on tour after a while. Remember everything like after a while, it became like more of a business, and
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and
As everything kind of does, but it's like I said, we gotta run the usually the way it works like that, right? Like so you create something badass and then it runs that course, and then as long as you can retain that and keep the roots of it, and usually those guys weed
Yeah.
themselves out, and but yeah, that, like, thinking back of those times that with the bikers and all the shit. I just some wild times because with them, they had literally like flipped the cops off, and the cops would do nothing, right? Because they were just so outlaw.
yeah,
They were like so gnarly, like literally, like talk about no rules, dude. Like,
yeah.
like it was freaking.
And then you got Mad Mike Jones.
Upside down with on fire.
Yeah. And then
1990.
there was always,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was good times, man. Well, we could probably take hours talking about all this shit.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should wrap this up because we
Yeah.
don't want to take all your time. Yeah,
maybe it's
going
time
on.
for Brian. Tell us what's up, for you and Hayden and the kids. Tell us what's coming up.
Yeah, so Hayden starts racing Supercross here come in February, so he's like training for that. We
Yeah.
may go over to Australia and do some other racing there, which would be cool. Coming up, and then my racing, I'm going to King of the Hammers. That will be start testing in December, and that race is in February. So that, and we do 3 videos a week, on our YouTube channel. So and it's called The Deegans. It's about our family. And we've been doing that for almost 10 years now and built a pretty good following. And, I do it because it gives us a voice, and we have a voice of, like, what we stand for, and I feel like in this world right now, like with all the bullshit that's on TV and on the internet, I feel like it's a good sounding board, a good, like, family style, badass, racing style story, and we put that out. Like, so yeah, we're still filming, we're still editing, doing all that, but now instead of 1-2 videos a year, it's 3 videos a week, dude. So
But it's good.
You have a full-time editor? That's the
yeah,
worst part, is going and editing.
oh yeah, I remember I tried to edit a video when I did my Deegan video a long time ago, and it's time consuming, man. It's it's an art.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember me and Johnny used to go lock it up in the studio and to make these movies.
Yeah, I remember
We
always.
pretty much filmed like a whole year, and then we'd spend 3 months in the studio.
That
Isn't that
sounds
crazy?
terrible.
And to put out one video a year that was probably an hour long or whatever, and and everyone couldn't wait to watch that movie. And in the release, the premiere, and it was such a big deal. And nowadays, I mean, what are people looking forward to on YouTube and the internet? I mean, shit, dude, every day is something, right? You just like, and is moto still even as cool? Is freestyle still cool? The tricks are gnarly, way gnarlier, and but I think freestyle lacks the characters it had. And think about how cool the characters were. I mean, everyone was cool. That was the top 10 dudes in freestyle were all badass characters.
What did you think when we give you a tank and a weapon with explosives?
Well, you're the general. You're
crowd of 15,000 people and just rock the general.
Yeah, that was like a perfect intro coming out to the crowd with the machine gun. It was cool as in Australia, guns are illegal, so that was even made it cooler, right? Like it was like the people don't get to see that shit. So that was badass. Come out in the tank. You remember how dead serious the gun guy was? Like he thought he was like in the war still. Like we still to this day, me and Feist like will call each other and be like, "Prepare for gunfire." That's like the guy would yell that before you shot the gun. Like, we used to have like, some funny ass one-liners, dude, that we would still say to this day when we call each other. It's pretty funny, dude.
What did you think when you showed up and we gave you a tank?
It's perfect because, like, what do you do to top each year. Like each time you got to
Yeah.
top it with something else.
We had you guys
yeah,
coming out of like coffins, and we had you
yeah,
come out, and and with kung fu fights, we had them like chopping off,
chop
people's
off the
heads with
mannequin's
swords.
head.
Everybody kind of had their little part.
Yeah,
Well, it was theatrical. It was like we were putting on a show,
Yeah.
and it was
yeah.
like combining your sport with a show, and it was cool. It was awesome. It's
There you
good to talk to you, Brian. It's
Yeah.
been a long time. It's like I said, it's impressive what you got going with the family and the whole package, man. You kept it in the groove, dude. You just pinned it, kept it in the groove, still crushing it.
Still going for it, dude.
Pretty
Yeah,
interesting,
well, maybe
the wave that you've gone from, when we met you as a young boy, and into that freestyle motocross and making your change from racer to that, and then taking you on tour around the world. And I remember there was one call that you called me, and you said, "Hey, Freeman, I don't know if I'm want to sign up for this backflip thing," because you were so nervous. I think that was the tank one, right? You were so nervous.
Yeah. But it was after I think I broke something, dude. I
Yeah.
don't know.
You
I
called me
just
up,
coming
and you
back.
were like, "Hey, man, it's so fun to party down in Australia." And I said, "Well, Deegs, take a Thursday off, jump on the Friday and the Saturday night, and blow your head off from Sunday through next Thursday." Right?
Yeah.
That's what you did. You came out, you conquered, you did it, nailed the backflip, which is gnarly. Nobody had ever seen that really in Australia at
Yeah.
that time. Yeah.
Yeah, like I
So,
said,
that
it
was
was good
era.
timing.
it was
good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think nowadays with the airbags, it's a little more forgiving from what you guys had to live
Oh,
through and
yeah.
go through. And it's
Way
just,
more forgiving.
Not so many
yeah,
hospitals anymore.
it's a whole different world, you know what I mean? And it's just a whole different world of what it was. But
Yeah.
no, good time, good era, and with many more to come, I imagine, right?
Yep. So we'll
All right. Well, maybe
well, thanks for calling.
we'll do round two coming up here.
Yeah,
We'll do
we'll maybe catch up on round 2 maybe next year and see how you guys are doing with all the racing and all that.
Yeah.
Kind of check in, tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
But for the last time, where do people check in? Is it Deegan.com or what are you?
Yeah. So really just at I update mostly on my Instagram, which is just Brian Deegan 38, and then that's my Facebook, that's my TikTok, and YouTube channel's The Deegans. So like I said, that's kind of our whole platform, all the platforms there. So, and from there you can see all my kids' platforms and all the other stuff. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, shit, man. Appreciate you taking the time to fucking reminisce with me on being free doggy.
Yeah. But we'll have to get Feist and Twitch all on the show at once, and it'd be pretty funny, dude. Like all the stuff
let's do that.
the stuff we'll probably
We
think
could do
of.
that. That would be
It'd
fun.
be funny.